Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now, in this disturbing alleged incident that took place in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 17-year-old Nikita Kasap allegedly took the life of his mother and his stepfather in an effort to get the money and the autonomy to participate in a plan to assassinate President Trump in the hopes of fomenting a revolution that he believed would save the white race.
A federal search warrant, unsealed Friday, details a murder plot as part of a plan targeting President Donald Trump. The documents attribute that plot to 17-year-old Waukesha student Nikita Kasap. Charged in the shooting deaths of his mother, Tatiana, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, inside their home February 11th. According to prosecutors, the teenagers stayed inside the home with their bodies for 12 days.
Victim B body was appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Police arrested Kasap in Kansas weeks later, finding him with his stepfather's car, gun, and $14,000. The motive for the murders, according to the federal warrant, was to use that money to fund a plan calling for the president's assassination, to, quote, foment a political revolution in the United States and save the white race. According to the records, Kasap shared an affinity for the neo-Nazi group, the Order of Nine Angles. And they also reference a 3-page manifesto quoted as saying, as to why, specifically Trump, I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring some chaos. The records show Kasap on the platforms TikTok and Telegram discussed buying a drone to use in an attack. And investigators say he told a classmate, quote, when they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news, it would have been him.
Now, Nikita Kasap wound up again taking the life of his mother and his stepfather, then hiding their bullet-riddled bodies under blankets for 2 weeks as he traveled across the country in an effort to implement this plan to start that revolution. However, Nikita Kasap was arrested in Kansas and taken into custody. And as he was taken into custody, this is where they found his parents on a wellness check with their decaying bodies found under those blankets. And this is where the state government again charged Nikita Kasap with first-degree murder, and then possibly will be charging him with federal charges as related to this conspiracy to participate in a plan to take the life of the president and foment what he believed to be a revolution. Now, the police in Waukesha and the federal Bureau of Investigation see the behavior of Nikita Kasap as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of Nikita Kasap's alleged behavior, it fits the pattern and profile for cyber simps that I talk about in my book Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and also fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book The Man Crisis. And Nikita Kasap's behavior fits a very disturbing pattern I have been seeing among many adolescents over the last 3 to 4 years as we are coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we're coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm seeing a lot of teenagers basically becoming extremely participating in radical behavior based on the misinformation they imbibed online during those COVID-19 lockdowns. Now, Dr. Anthony Fauci believed that these COVID-19 lockdowns would prevent the spread of the virus. Unfortunately, he didn't really look at the social implications of long-term isolation like Dostoevsky presented in his novel Crime and Punishment, because what happened that was worse than the virus is that we have this, after a long period of isolation, people coming out back into society with antisocial behavior, and coming out into society with this antisocial behavior with a plan to participate in violence based on the misinformation that they read online during their period of isolation, like the lockdowns. And that's what's been happening to many young children, like Nikita Kasap, who, like I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis, become children of the corn. Now, these children of the corn basically wound up growing up like stalks without any sort of structure or leadership from their parents. No, since they didn't get any sort of structure or leadership from their parents or supervision as related to the internet, what happened to lots of children like Nikita Kasap is that they grow up again heading down rabbit holes of misinformation because their parents didn't have enough time to sit down and teach them actual information and facts regarding subjects that they see online. Because Nikita Kasap, 5 years ago, was about 12 years old, and with him being 12 years old during the time of the COVID-19 lockdowns, he might even have been 11, is what happened to this boy as he was locked down for just that little bit of time in that isolation is he started going on the internet unsupervised, and as he went on the internet unsupervised, this is where he started heading down the road to going on to white supremacist websites. And as he went down the road of going on to white supremacist websites, such as ones controlled by the Order of Nine Angels, again, a white supremacist web platform, again, he started to imbibe all of this misinformation. And sadly, because this child had no parent to supervise them, they began to take this hate speech and misinformation as actual information and believed everything on that website to be actually true, when in actuality everything on that website was white supremacist propaganda that was meant to go out here and radicalize an individual with its inflammatory rhetoric. What these white supremacists wanted to do was, again, inflame and incense someone by going out here and scapegoating groups like minorities and saying that they were responsible for the decline of America and the white race. And sadly, this 11 or 12-year-old boy did not have anybody there to supervise him, because possibly after his mother came out of a divorce and she married a stepfather, there was nobody there to meet his needs as a boy and give him the structure he needed in order to become a healthy man. No, what this boy basically did was, because he was possibly coming out of a divorce or something like that, he became insecure as related to his natural masculinity and natural sexuality and started to enter the secret world in an effort to find security in his masculinity and sexuality. And as he looked to secure his masculinity and sexuality, this is where he, at 11 years old, possibly he started heading down the road of these hate groups, and imbibing their evil, because they gave him somebody to blame, possibly for the complete disaster that led to his mother leaving his father. And as they gave him scapegoats to go out here and blame, he then began to buy into the narratives of white supremacy, buy into these narratives as young as 11 or 12 years old, because this misinformation, again, it makes you feel good, it makes you sound, it sounds good, it gives you somebody to blame, and again, gives you somebody to blame as related to a situation that you really don't understand. And that's what makes this misinformation extremely dangerous for young children, makes it extremely dangerous for young children, because when young children imbibe misinformation, they don't have any sort of critical thinking or discernment developed yet. And since they don't have any sort of critical thinking or discernment developed yet to be able to tell information from misinformation, these children basically take this misinformation as the truth, and this leads to these children of the corn growing up like a wild stalk that becomes completely out of control to the point where parents can't really do anything about them at all. And that's what happened here, sadly, in this situation to this family. What happened was they didn't know that this boy had become a ticking time bomb that was looking to explode in rage after participating in developing their grand plans, where they wrote a manifesto and come up with this master plan to participate in the assassination of the president. This is where this boy, again, fueled with anger as related to a possible divorce, fueled with anger as related to the misinformation and conspiracy theories that he saw and read online on these white supremacist websites, felt that he had to go out here and take action, felt like he had to take action because he basically felt like he had nothing to lose in his own life because nobody invested in him. And since no one invested in him, he looked to invest in destroying the world around him in this grand plan, a grand plan that basically was one that he had all in his head, because when it comes to a lot of these beta males, they have grand ideas in their heads, and sadly, since there's nobody there to talk to them to explain why this plan just makes no logical sense, they go out here and look to implement this plan and look to take the lives of people in their families, and then look to go out here and look to destroy the world around them. And that's what Nikita Kassab, I believe, was doing here, again, as he was online reading all of this misinformation on these white supremacist websites. And again, in the secret world, this is where he stopped seeing his parents as people and saw them as objects that were in his way of obtaining the financial means and autonomy necessary to participate in his plan to assassinate the president. Look to go out here and participate in this plan because he no longer saw them as people that he loved, but saw them as obstacles in his way, and then saw that after he did this, he could get the money to participate in this plan, a plan that made no logical sense whatsoever, but only made sense because he was living in his rose-colored world, where he believed that this plan was logical. And sadly, since there was nobody there to sit down and talk to this young man participated in this plan to participate in an act of domestic terrorism in the quest to, again, support white supremacy, as related to these radical views that he got online, and look to, again, participate in this radical plan to, again, take those lives. Again, that's what his plan was. And again, this is where this boy, again, looked to, again, participate in this plan. And again, kept his parents' dead bodies in a place so he can have his smooth world to participate in this plan with no conflicts, problems, or obstacles. And now, basically, again, is in the custody of the people of the Wisconsin police, and will now possibly in a place where he will be going to either state or federal prison for this plan, and will possibly be going to be prison for the rest of his life. And he will go from having to deal with people online through a period of withdrawal, because what happens to a lot of these guys who are on the internet with this misinformation is they have to go through a period of withdrawal when they go into the jail or the penitentiary, because you don't have access to the internet. And since you don't have access to the internet, the only thing you have access to is the library with magazines and newspapers, and those are under the authority of the CO and the pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, who will show him what the pecking order of supremacy is inside of the penitentiary, where he will learn how he is at the lowest rung inside of the penitentiary, where he will be traded for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand orange drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand papaya drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand apple juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand chocolate chip cookies, off-brand sugar wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Hunt's snack pack puddings, packets of Velveeta cheese, packets of mustard, packets of honey mustard, packets of sriracha sauce, packets of soy sauce, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, Fritos chips, prison chips. I mean, they're going to be trading this guy for all of the commissary and showing him who's supreme as they spit roast him and stuff big beef summer sausages in his front side and its back side. And Mr. Sprinkles comes in and then sprays both sides with his special sauce, and then calls all the guys of Cell Block D in as he bends him over and then splits the cheeks open and shows this dude's backside looking like the inside of Louisiana crunch cake. And there he will realize that all the stories about prison are not a conspiracy theory, but actual reality, an actual reality where he's dealing with the consequences of his actions. And that's what's been, again, part of this disturbing trend of children going online. They go online, and again, since there's nobody supervising them, they're buying into all of this misinformation that is put on these websites. Again, as they buy into this misinformation, they don't see how this misinformation puts them on a road from being free to be able to live their lives and actualize their potential, and puts them on a road to going from being teenagers to becoming men in crisis. And that's what's happening to Nikita Kasap. He's gone from a teenager who's gone from being on the road to possibly graduating high school to graduating into the criminal justice system, all because he was sitting online, and sadly because nobody's telling these kids about all the misinformation online. No, nobody's vetting this stuff for their kids. I mean, it's very different than the world of television, because in the world of television, you at least knew it wasn't real. But the whole thing is, with lots of kids, they're not understanding that a lot of the information on the internet is garbage. A lot of this information you're seeing that you think is information is not information. Yes, it may look like a newspaper. Yes, this guy may have a video, and it may look official, but a lot of it is complete bullshit. And you have to understand that everything you see, you have to take with a grain of salt. Everything you see, you need to go out here and find other information that can validate that information or verify that information. That's something parents aren't teaching their kids. They're letting them go on this World Wide Web that completely unsupervised. And as a result, what's happening all over the United States in the aftermath of COVID is that we're getting kids who are becoming sick because they've imbibed all of this misinformation that are placed on these conspiracy theory websites, these far right and far left websites, these white supremacist websites. And because these children don't have anybody there to let them know that a lot of the stuff that's on there isn't real, or just lies. A lot of this stuff is misinformation. They're taking it to be actual information, and as they take it to be actual information, they're growing up like children of the corn, and those children of the corn are growing up to become men and women in crisis, because parents don't have the time to invest in them. They don't have the time to invest in spending time talking to them. And even worse, in some cases, you have parents teaching their kids and reinforcing this stuff. And again, since there's no parents there, what's happening is we're seeing these children growing up to become, again, radicalized by misinformation, whether it be white supremacy, whether it be anti-Semitism, whether it be anti-black racism. They're sitting there on this World Wide Web, and it's a very dangerous and disturbing trend, that many parents are basically, again, nose blind to, because their faces are in front of a screen. But sometimes you just, again, have to, take your kids away from these screens. I would say any kid from 0 to about 12 years old should not be on the internet. It should not be on the internet, because you need to be able to develop your critical thinking skills, develop your ability to discern information, and be able to get your understanding of that everything you see on here is, again, you can't take it too seriously unless it's coming from official sources. Again, you cannot go out here and take this stuff as the truth, because, again, if you take this stuff as the truth, you will wind up, again, on a road like Nikita Kasap, where you will go from being a free white man to winding up becoming a white man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of beta male behavior, you can, and be able to prevent that, and it's related to making your family's or someone in your life's family dysfunctional, you can pick up The Man Crisis on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn about all the predators that are online and all the misinformation that's online, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, on Amazon.com, and right next to The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find it at all the online bookstores that The Man Crisis is sold. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about the man crisis that's going on in this country and what's looking like the cyber crisis going on in this country due to the lockdowns that happen, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.